What's up, guys? It's KB. Make sure you subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel. Click the bell icon down below so you don't miss a single video from us. And thanks for tuning in to another video from Underground Sports Philadelphia. Now let's get into it.
Philadelphia, baby, you're going to love it. Best sports fans in the world. Actually, the worst, but that's what makes them the best.
I don't know what just happened there, but it froze on my end. I was also just realizing, Deej, that's probably the first time Chase has ever seen that video play before we recorded.
That I was gonna say that is definitely the first time.
We'll break the fourth wall before Deej and I record every episode to play the timer out for editing purposes, because for whatever reason, StreamYard doesn't let you just directly edit your audio. You have to cut like 2 seconds off at the beginning. So it's just like, all right, let's play something to just prep. We play the PLL's 2021 year in review video that we've had just running for like ever since it came out, and we
like
just play
3 years
for every show. We were waiting for
like
2022 to come through. Never happened. 2023 didn't have one. It's like, all right, we'll just keep this one going because 2021 was quite the year.
It got me fired up.
So what is going on, OTB Nation? Welcome into episode number 331 of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned, number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse podcast on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. And if you haven't heard it already, it's KB, it's Deej, and it's All-Star break. So we said, let's get the boy on. We got to get him more in the mix now that he's part of the squad. Chase, aka the PLL Pipeline, on the pod. First actual pod episode outside of draft night. First three-man pod in
the live pod
3 years, and the live pod, obviously. First three-man pod this way in like 3 years.
Yeah. What was Harrison right around when I was first hopping on?
So it's good to have you.
Is he okay?
He graduated.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Shout out
That's
to the boy.
the heart to the news, baby. Yo.
So happy to have Chase on for this episode, and hopefully moving forward we'll have more recording time to have Chase hop on. I know Denver Week Hoots is going to hop on with us too, so whole squad. It's All-Star break, and the lacrosse world just decided to say, hey, here's a fuck ton of news for you to cover. We're going to recap Boston. We'll discuss the All-Star game rosters. One of our early season predictions happened and didn't even have to come to fruition in the way that we thought it would. And we've got some NLL trade action going down as well as we record this on a Thursday night. But before we get into everything, make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB Lax Pod, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Facebook. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_next great. Follow Chase on Twitter and Instagram at the PLL Pipeline. And follow me on Twitter at KBIZZL311. Subscribe to Joe Nardella's favorite lacrosse podcast on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts in audio form. Be like Andy Towers and listen to us when you're working out. Keep on subscribing. It helps us hit new milestones. Leave those 5-star reviews. And, of course, subscribe to both the Underground Sports Philadelphia and Outside the Box podcast YouTube channels. YouTube.com/@Underground Sports Philadelphia is where you get full video episodes of this show every week, full video episodes of every show on our network, plus our Olympics coverage will be on our YouTube channel as well. Light the flame, go subscribe there. We're at 816 subscribers. Let's get to 900 before the end of the month. Let's make that a real attainable goal. And then go subscribe to the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel. That is where the full episode of OTB Live in Philly lives. And that is where all of our fun podcast clips and anything OTB-centric that is not a podcast episode goes. So youtube.com/@OTBLaxPod is where you go for that. And, of course, this show is presented by the good people and our good pals over at Shootout For Soldiers, who are having their Long Island weekend by the time you guys are listening to this. Wishing the best of luck and success for Shootout Long Island. It's going to be an absolute movie of a time because Team Barstool is going to be there, which means Maddie Nest and Dukes are going to be in the building. Long Island is always a wild success. And I hope that trend continues for our pals at Shootout For Soldiers. And their mission is to use lacrosse as a platform to support American veterans and foster community engagement. With over a decade of dedicated collaboration from local communities, lacrosse players, and the U.S. military, Shootout For Soldiers has emerged as a highly regarded industry partner, offering an unmissable and eagerly anticipated event. Established in 2012 as a high school project by some of our good pals, Tyler Steinhardt, RJ Kaminsky, Brett Roberts. This event has experienced remarkable growth in both reach and impact, raising over $5 million to champion veteran service organizations with unwavering dedication to their mission. They've also had over 7,500 attendees and over 2,500 players. Click the link in the description. Check out their schedule for the remainder of the season. See if you can volunteer, register for an event, and of course, figure out how you can donate to Shootout For Soldiers as well. Following Long Island weekend, they have Canandaigua at the end of July, Virginia August 3rd and 4th, and then Baltimore weekend, September 7th and 8th. Plus, they have Wall Ball for Warfighters coming up, Veterans Weekend in November, and a whole lot of other events coming up with Shootout For Soldiers. So click that link in the description, see how you can get involved with Shootout For Soldiers, the proud presenting sponsor of the Outside the Box podcast. What's going on, boys? We got a lot to dive into, and it's always good when we're sitting here planning a show, and then boom, new news pops up. Shout out Travis and Jason Kelsey.
I don't get the reference.
It's one of their segments on New Heights.
You
Okay.
you haven't tuned in? Not once?
I
To new
didn't say
news?
New news.
I haven't tuned in to new news once. No, sorry.
It's just a segment on New Heights. But what's going on, Chaotic Bandit? How we doing?
Yo, chill. Hell, because I actually had on my Redwoods backyard crew neck earlier. So I was just like rocking the West Coast. I was literally just rocking, well, I guess not even really West Coast, but the Western Conference. But yeah, I'm not. And then I had practice. I'm not
not a game.
I like the chaotic.
Talk about practice.
I like the chaotic bandits though. I really just pulled this out of the woodworks because I hadn't worn it in a while. Obviously, you can
the
tell.
Redwood works.
I'm not doing this with you today. I'm not. All right. I'm doing great though. I got my last summer tournament of the weekend. It's All-Star weekend. I'm feeling great, man.
Chase, how we doing?
Well, it's always fantastic to hop back on. Like you said, live show, draft show. Finally got an actual episode with the guys. But it's been good. Paige has been doing well. We just hit 2,300. So shout out to everyone we done pretty well this week. We'll get into the Eric Law stuff, but that was all really nice. Excited to see Eric Law get back on the field. But yeah, always excited to be back on the pod.
Eric Law, we will definitely get into that as he's also a new follower of the pod on Tweet Machine. Eric Law, come on the podcast challenge. He's one player that is tapped in with us in multiple ways. He now follows OTB on Twitter. Does he follow the Pipeline on Instagram?
Not yet.
We'll make
Not
that
yet.
happen. He followed me on my personal Twitter, and then he and I are connected on LinkedIn too.
There you go.
I was like, Eric Law feels like the type of person that if I want to reach out to him, I need to get him on LinkedIn. So I just connected with him, and in like 20 seconds, he accepted the request. So I was like, all right, he's a LinkedIn guy.
Bro, LinkedIn being a legit social media is so crazy.
It's the only one that Paul Rabel and I mutually follow each other.
It's so crazy to me. Like, I've used LinkedIn. Like, I have a profile, bro, but I'm just not on there.
It's fascinating.
It is. It's a whole different world over there. It is.
That's where Mike Rabel be living social media wise. He be on that thing.
You can tell. Even by the way he tweets, you can tell
he posts on there like it's like Facebook.
That's
like
how
early Facebook. That's how
people treat it.
And it's great.
People write paragraphs.
Oh, They write novels.
Bro, they rewrite the whole Harry Potter series.
The most active account that I follow on there, it's the boardroom account. They post literally nonstop on there. I learned so much about just what's going on in the sports and entertainment world from following the boardroom on LinkedIn. And they don't post it on any of their other social media pages. It's just on LinkedIn. Shout out KD.
That's an interesting strategy.
Boston weekend in the books with the PLL. They go back to Harvard. They fill the Coliseum. And Chase, as you texted in our group chat, apparently I'm on a Hall of Fame run of press conference questions, and
they've been stellar.
Not apparently, that is not apparently.
I'll take it. I'll take the run. You know?
Where is his gold jacket? Bring it out.
They're preparing it.
They're getting it ready. They're pressing it. Hopefully, it's not a schmedium like Julius Peppers. Did you see our guy Sean Merriman? Sean Merriman quotes me and said, "Nah, they gave Pep a schmedium."
Because they know he cannot fit in that, bro. They know he can't.
Boston went down. A lot of interesting happenings. Some good, some bad, some ugly. The Redwoods got their first win, though, Deech. They're on the board.
Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe
Hawk
it.
Harrelson with the White Sox. You can put it on the board. Yes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think I remember talking about it a little bit. Like, if the Woods win this game, I'm gonna be happy. But I also wouldn't have been surprised if they lost. So I'm genuinely happy they got the first win of the year. But I just didn't expect it, and especially because they did that thing that they do, where they start just bullshitting at the end of the game. I don't know what happens at the end of the fourth quarters, especially when they're winning, but they just forget how to play lacrosse. And that started to happen, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is it! It's happening."
They're gonna, here it goes.
I was like, "They're gonna blow it in the last few minutes," when they've been playing great for so long, and they didn't, which I was very happy with. And I'm just hoping that maybe the break would be good for them. Guys compete in the All-Star game and competitions, and then they get back and they're able to keep the momentum going. But I was very happy with what I saw from them to start the game.
Mm-hmm.
It did go in kind of a drawl for about almost 3 quarters, and then the rest of the game was fantastic. They were moving the ball, they were moving bodies, and they were taking good shots. And a handful of them got behind and into the net. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, I've also learned that I think one of my favorite people, when I see him in a press conference, I just get a smile on my face. Give me TD Erlin every single weekend.
He's great.
He's so goddamn funny. I forget who it was. Someone asked Nat about the environment. It was one of the local reporters in Boston or whatever, and Nat brought up how TD hadn't played there because of the pandemic and everything, and he just dropped a "Go Bulldogs" in the press conference. It's great. He's so quirky and funny, and I just love it. And I love that Jared Connors was the demoralizer shot in this game for the Redwoods. As soon as he scored, that's when you knew the game was over.
Yeah,
he popped that celly, and I was like, "Oh, it's that. We're done here. Let's pull up the Zoom and get on the press conference because it was over."
It was that, and then it was Ryder's ride when he pulled off the one-hand interception. I was like, okay, that was when I finally took that sigh of relief. Oh, the Redwoods just won their first game. But then I was like, well, there goes my picks. I'm going to do bad this week. And I didn't do too bad.
I did horrendous.
I've been staying away from tracking my pick'em records.
I was going to bring this up on the pod. I was going to bring this up on the pod too. I think I'm just going to let our fans decide my picks moving forward because I'm out here getting cooked.
I got to see where my followers are at because last year they beat me by, I think, a game. And this year I know I have been doing awful. I don't need to do the math.
I should let the fans pick my fantasy team because I am getting ran.
Shoot. The AI is picking a better team than me at this point.
I have been getting ran, dude. It is bad. Like I'm talking, people are beating me by like 100+ points. Like I'm getting ran. And I'm like, what is going on? I'm not picking anybody bad. Like I'll go out and I'll pick like T, Schreiber, Graham Bundy, Jared Connors, Kirsty, Sis, and I don't know, like Jules and Marcus Holman. And then I'll go up and put up like 101 points.
Well, I mean, I had so many Boston midfielders for that first game. And of course, coming off a game where they have, I think, 5 2-pointers and then none, and you hold them to 7. I don't think any of those midfielders had a good day. Jack Kelly was phenomenal.
They had a better day than Graham Bundy had. Mans gave me -9 points. I wanted to cry. Do you know how many pipes he hit?
My buddy had Josh Sawada, shout out Nate, and he was not too pleased with his performance. But fantasy's here nor there. It is so hard to predict these games.
Oh, it's
impossible. It's impossible.
Especially now, like even with the Redwoods and Waterdogs being at the bottom of the standings, which we were talking about, those guys can win any week. It is any given Friday, Saturday, Sunday, any team can win.
Yeah.
I'm just mad at not following history on that Redwoods pick. As bad, even as bad as they've been, they've only lost to the Cannons once.
They hadn't given us a reason to pick them though.
They did not. But man, history is history. I should have known. I should have done better as a fan and truly stuck.
You should have believed.
You should have been like the clip where the dude's walking up to the window. I'm gonna get you out of there. Yeah, I'm gonna get you out.
I'm gonna get you your first win.
I also thoroughly enjoyed Lacrosse Twitter coming together to dunk on Diggs. Shout out to the boy.
It wasn't just Lacrosse Twitter. The PLL itself.
Oh my God. It was an all-time just like moment for a Lacrosse Twitter OG.
But Diggs, I still got your back. Like I said on the tweet machine, if Atlas wins, the curse ain't real. The Redwoods just showed up, dog. They just showed up.
And they didn't just win.
Finally.
They dominated.
Yeah, like finally the Redwoods just showed up. This ain't got nothing to do with you, Diggs. You good in my book. You can come back and be a Redwoods fan whenever you want. They just got to show up and play.
It was
just like your Atlas did. Because
his tweet though, where he said, "Yo, the Redwoods cooked me on Facebook."
Yeah. Well, I saw one where they took his initial video of putting down I think it was the Redwoods hat.
Someone put it
and then they reversed it. That was hilarious.
I had to. It was like mid press conference. I photoshopped the Redwoods Bearhead logo on the Jordan, and I took that personally.
I saw that.
Kyle Harrison liked that one. That
I
one
saw
was
the KD,
crazy.
My Next Chapter. I was like, everyone's coming together to dunk on him.
Collectively cooked his ass.
I knew it was gonna be something for real when he said, "I swear if the Redwoods win." I was like, "Oh, bro, you should have just left it alone."
And then Nakai's biggest highlight of the year so far, no offense to the boy, was his tweet at Diggs. That shit was hilarious.
What'd he say? Like, stay over there or whatever?
He said, "We gonna let you live, but stay on that side."
Yeah. You wrong for calling that his biggest highlight. He had a couple good cost turnovers. Those are highlights in my book.
Sure.
Yeah.
But
see
this one.
Oh no. You're what's wrong with the lacrosse community.
Whoa.
Whoa.
We're gonna take a quick 20.
That's fine.
20 here.
Hey, defense. Listen, defense is just as important and makes just as many highlights as offense. Pure point. If you don't see it as a highlight, I
haven't seen it. That's the problem.
Because you don't be paying that much attention.
Kendrick Lamar's music video seen more dead people than I've seen.
Chill.
Come on, man.
Did they have jewelry on where they at least icy dead people?
We're gonna take another time out.
I see dead people, but they also icy because the drip. All right.
Looking here. Cause turnovers for Nakai this year.
Oh, he's pulling stats.
He is. He does
Well,
this time, bro.
We didn't even talk about Brian Tevlin at the end of the game, too.
Nakai's got 1 cause turnover on the year.
Hey, that's enough. You know how hard it is to get a cause turnover as a short stick D mid? See, this is what you non-playing folk got going on.
Whoa.
All right,
that had an undertone I did not like.
I'm done throwing shots. I'm done. I just had to defend the boy. You know, I'm a good fan.
I mean, I love Nakai, but he also stood me up at Champ Series, and that was kind of disrespectful.
That, and I mean, he hasn't quite shown up in the way we thought he would yet. Yet is the key here.
Yeah.
It can still happen, but it has not happened to this moment.
But the Redwoods get their first win. I got to hit Nat with a How We Livin', which was nice. That felt good. And then it was cool, you know, bringing up what Chase called Hall of Fame run. Marcus Holman's answer to my question was really cool to kind of just see it like hit him in real time. I posted the clip on my Twitter from the press conference, but it was really cool to kind of like see that like materialize in Marcus's head as I asked him the question. I don't think that's ever really happened in a press conference I've been a part of. And for that to happen with Marcus was really cool. And as soon as I unmuted myself, like Marcus like gave like that chuckle, like he knew like some sort of like philosophical question was coming his way. I love talking to Marcus in press conferences. He's probably in my top 3 of any player we get the opportunity to have media availability with, just because he gives such like unique responses back to anybody who asks him a question. And then I hit Coach Holman with the same question just from a coaching perspective the next day. And it was cool to kind of see it like hit him from a coaching aspect. But yeah, I mean, it was also really cool to kind of see Marcus like tip the cap to like the young guys on this Cannons roster that are going to be around for years. And he was like, hopefully, you know, I get another chance at it tomorrow. And of course he did, because we had a Boston themed guest last week. So of course my downfall was preyed upon. We'll get to that in a moment, but the Bulls were on parade. Atlas just demolished the Denver Outlaws, and it was ugly. I genuinely thought, I don't know if you felt this way, Chase. I don't know if you were watching it live or not, DJ. I forget if you were back from coaching yet.
No, I had this weekend off, so I was watching.
Oh, okay. I genuinely thought that the Outlaws were going to break the record for fewest goals in a game.
They were cutting it very close.
It was right there.
And it was within their grasp.
I was like, wow, we're witnessing. Like, I was sitting there just like, wow, we're witnessing history right now. That's why I'm enjoying this, because I thought we were going to be like going into a press conference to bring up to a coach that, hey, you just scored the fewest goals in a PLL game in history. And then on the other side, tell that to Mike Pressler in the same game that Jeff Teat ties the all-time points in a season record.
That is still bonkers to me. I mean, those last 2 Denver goals, one was with 4 minutes and 5 seconds left, Justin Anderson. And then with 51 seconds left, Cross hit one.
I wasn't even paying attention to that. I was just locked in on Jeff T. I was like, I was waiting for him to break the record so I could go wazoo on Twitter. Honestly, that was it. I was so like out of tune. I wasn't like, it was almost like Denver wasn't on the field.
Literally.
I want to see Jeff Teat do this.
I forget who said on Twitter, but somebody was like, when Jeff Teat plays and the way he's been playing this season, it looks like he's not even trying.
Yeah,
he's not.
And somebody was like, it pisses me off. Like,
he's not
he's just out there. And it's true. Like, he is in the, is like, there's nowhere better way to describe it. He's going through the motions, and those motions are being the best lacrosse player on the world
like
right
water.
now.
It's like water out there. Like, he just flows. Like, there's no like like effort's not the word because there is effort, obviously,
Oh,
but like
yeah.
it's just so smooth and effortless to the point where he looks like water just out there, just like floating around.
I
Bro,
know we're
he's
only 6
20
seasons in, but like the fact that he tied the record halfway through the season is insane. Like
Yeah.
we've had every season somebody break, like last year was Marcus, year before that was Lyle, but it was crazy.
He's 2013 LeBron. Like, man, literally, he just is here and can't be stopped.
Can we
It's
get Jeff to
unstoppable.
recreate the image of LeBron where he's like looking up on like demon time hours? We need Jeff to recreate that.
I just need Jeff's all-time Selly now to just be the finisher. Just pull out LeBron's Selly and just after a nasty goal or like just I don't even know. He just needs to exist. He's just that good. Like,
He's so good.
am I gonna be an Ottawa Black Bears fan now? Oh
This
man,
fucking guy.
I'm just saying, dog. Like, I'm a Teak fan. I like the guy.
I
Yeah,
feel
I'm
like
like-
if you don't like Jeff T, you're the problem. Because he is one of those guys that is just like universally liked. And it's just easy to root for him, even without good. Like, there's players in every sport where it's like they're so good, but like you hate them because they don't play for your team. Jeff T could play for any team, and it's just like he's the man. And I think it's because he's so like humble and like just doesn't even acknowledge how good he is, to where it's just like, oh, he's like just normal and just like goes out, does his thing, and goes home and watches the MCU on Disney Plus.
I mean, going back to the press conference, I think I texted you. I was like, "Oh my gosh, Jeff Teet's in a press conference," and then they're like, "Oh, you just tied the record. How do you feel?" And he's like, "It's all right.
Yeah.
I want to thank my teammates for putting me in a good position." I'm like, dude, I'd be ecstatic, but that's Jeff Teet.
I blew Pressler's mind when I told him that Jeff T tied the record. Like, he didn't even know, which I didn't expect him to, obviously, coming right off the field. But he was just like one of those Pressler like ticks that he has, just like flabbergasted. I love how we went into Mike Pressler's tenure not knowing how we were gonna like click with him, and I love how likable he is.
Yeah, I think it was a great transition, and we were able to kind of get in a little bit closer with the Atlas squad than we had been.
I don't think he liked me.
Things were like bad with Rubior, but
yeah,
like it's
towards
slightly,
the end it was great with Rubior because I just kept asking about substitutions.
that was a funny season long bit for sure.
That and the anyway counter.
I've never.
If that was going on now, the amount of times I would have hit the Lizzo anyway.
People would stop watching our show.
That was great. I don't think Pressler liked that I did do a little nod that he had the new camo hat on. I was like, great to see you in camo again. He just didn't even like acknowledge it. But then I blew his mind with the Teat stat, and I think he just forgot. But he did look more like himself again with the camo hat on. That's like the superhero not having like their super suit.
I mean, he held on to that camo hat religiously last year. Like everywhere that man was, that camo hat was right there.
I didn't think it would ever come out. I thought it was like stitched to his head. When I saw him in the White House, like something looks different about him.
You thought he was like Matilda's dad, super glued onto his head. By the way, new Twitter display name: Teeter on a Heater. So if you see
that was a long time coming. It's
definitely me. It was.
We got to ask Joe Keegan because I don't know if it's true or not. The Outlaws shot 10.3% in this game. That has to be a new all-time low.
I think the Redwoods 3-goal game might be pushing that.
I wish there was a way to go back and look at the stats from that, but the website's still all wonky.
I know.
But 10.3, like you have to try to like be that inefficient almost. Like nothing was working for them.
I mean, we haven't even mentioned it, but Liam Entenman That's the best rookie debut I've seen in the league. I mean, there's been some good ones.
That was a great rookie debut, especially for a goalie.
I mean, Shelley had one earlier this season, week 1. Fantastic. But that was to shut down a team that has been steadily improving week after week. They've got a young squad. Now they're bringing Eric Law, which I felt like they needed a veteran presence since week 1. Liam Entenmann, what a debut.
Hey.
But Tim Troutner's in the All-Star game.
Yeah, I'll bring that up later. The part I had. Not Tim Troutner in the All-Star game.
That's former PLL All-Star game MVP Tim Troutner.
I had another thought on the Eric Law thing that I'll bring up later.
I mean, should we bring it up now? I mean, the Outlaws scored 4 goals in a game, and Eric Law is now an Outlaw.
And Brennan O'Neill had, I think, 8 touches.
That's where I was about to go.
Yeah.
They had 176 touches as a team, and to put it head-to-head, Atlas had 283.
I'm trying to figure out how much blame to place where. I do think a small portion of it, like, and I mean, a very minuscule portion of this falls on Brendan O'Neill himself.
I agree.
But it's very minuscule. You kind of got to know you're that guy.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And just go demand the ball and make a play. But at the end of the day, he is a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
He is trying to integrate into this team, so he can't just be like, hey, I'm the man. Give me the ball. I'm going to take over. Like, he kind of has to allow it to happen. And in his defense, he's that kind of player in general.
Mm-hmm. He's a very defer.
Which is why he's so good. He's very similar to Jeff T.
Yeah.
Best player in the world right now. A guy who just lets the game come to him. He doesn't try and force anything. He doesn't try and create anything. He just reacts off what is done in front of him. Brendan O'Neill's the same way. So in his mind, and he's a team first guy. Mm-hmm. So in his mind, he's like, oh, okay, they're going to lock me off. Cool. Let's just play 5-on-5. I'll get the ball off, the reset or whatever. And when I get my touches, I get my touches. Like,
right.
And that's his mindset. And I think that's a great mindset to have, which is why I put so little on him. I would probably say the majority of this blame goes to coaches. There is still a small portion of this on his teammates. You can go set a screen. You can encourage him to continue to move off ball. You can tell him to pick it up off the end. Like, there's so many different ways to get him involved and try and find a way to help him be in the game. And nobody even stepped up. J.A., like, I know he's young, but like J.A., like, that's his opportunity to be like, look, Brennan, I know what's happening, but like, you got to do this or you got to try this. We have to get you involved. What are some ways you feel comfortable off ball getting things going? Like, none of that happened either. Yeah. But the coaches have to be drawing up a play off the end line. Like, hey, nobody's touching the ball off end lines but Brennan. This is when we're going to be able to get him a chance to go. These are the things we want to do so that he has a couple different options. But you can't just let him not have the ball. You got to go set some screens. Maybe you're running him out of the box again so that he can, like, just catch the ball out of the box and go. But most of this is on the coaching staff. You have to do something to get one of your best players the ball, if not your best player, the ball as much as you can.
100% agree with you.
I was going to say the same thing. 100% agree. I think the term that keeps coming back to me is manufactured touches. There should be plenty of plays in your back pocket where you can say, I mean, we've seen it before. They run Brennan out of the box, or you get something going where it's like, all right, we're in a lull. Let's drop a play where Brennan can take a shot and see how he does. The other thing is this Atlas, as good as the Atlas offense has been, the upgrades from a season ago to now, I remember I did a post where Atlas was 8th in cost turnovers. They were 8th in ground balls. They were 8th in goaltending. Every defensive metric, they were last. And a lot of us were ragging on them because Kobe Smith was in and out of the lineup. Cade Van Raphorst had been released. They were playing Brett Makar out of position.
Greg Chick got released.
So it was a lot of different things where you were sitting there and saying, all right, what is Pressler doing? And now, a year later, it looks like a genius decision to take Gavin Adler and Brett Makar both with your top 3 picks, because this defense, and a ton of credit goes to Danny Logan, ton of credit goes to the goaltenders. Tim Troutner deserves an all-star spot. It's just crazy that Liam Entenmann, arguably with one game, deserves an all-star spot. But the other guys in Camizio and I am blanking.
Michael Rexroad.
Michael Rexroad also deserves credit. But I mean, that entire defense has completely turned a new leaf, and you pair that along with the offense, which has been on another level as well.
And the emergence of Tyler Carpenter.
Peyton Brzanka. Oh, and there's so many people. Kobe Smith is also, after last year, struggling with injuries, being in and out of the lineup. He looks phenomenal. Tyler Carpenter's an all-star. Looks like this year's Ethan Rawl in terms of production. Like, this entire unit, you can go up and down the line, and everyone on this Atlas team deserves credit in some way.
Yeah. It's wild to just see how well they have flipped the switch here. And I'm absolutely going to give them credit for how they played so far. My only thing, and obviously it was a different coach then, but we have seen this with the Atlas before, where they went hot, went on a run during the regular season, and then the playoffs came around and they folded. And a majority of these guys were on that team too, so I think that will help them avoid that potentially happening again. But that does stick in the back of my mind, where it's like, this franchise has done this in the past, and not that long ago, it was 2021, and then flopped in the playoffs when the pressure's at its highest. You hope that doesn't happen again for their sake, but it is something that, with a lot of young guys too that have not gotten that experience when the playoffs roll around, it'll be interesting to watch that kind of, unfold and everything. But they're on just another level, and they're playing on X Games mode, and it's almost like they're just like, get us to the postseason.
I mean, yeah, the only blemish is that loss to the Whips. And as someone that considers himself a Whips fan, I would be the first to say that game wasn't so much the Whips figuring out how to beat the Atlas. It was Atlas just not playing their brand of lacrosse and playing just not the speed and the pace that they have been throughout this entire season. And they realized that and immediately bounced back and had arguably their best performance of the year. So we'll see if they have another slow start out of the All-Star break. But if they realize that after one bad performance, I think that this is the year that Atlas might turn the narrative on their postseason success. Knock on wood. Hopefully I didn't just jinx them, but
yeah. I do.
What's going to be hard for them in that retrospect is the East is stacked with playoff experience across the board. The Cannons may be a little lower, but like a lot of those guys on that team have already played, pro lacrosse and have been that far. So them being quote unquote like the youngest team in the East is scary because they are that good. But where is your real, experience and veteranism now, especially that Tucker Durkin just left in the offseason to retire, and you just let go of Eric Law. Like,
yeah, that's your two captains.
You're banking on a bunch of young guys being able to play in the toughest time of the year. It may go very well because we have seen young produce in this league, but also we've seen where they went. Remember when they first went young and they just like blew out of the gates, and then they lost in the playoffs. I say, yeah, they lost in the playoffs immediately.
Well, I was going to say same thing happened with Chrome where they were the top seed, and that was a game where their first playoff game with Nick Turn-Wisnauskas, they put up 3 points.
Yeah.
And this team isn't as young, I think, as that team because you still have some veteran leaders like Danny Logan, like Rexroad.
Baptiste.
I think it's also going to play a lot into who gets that final seed in the East.
Yeah.
Because I think we can say that the Cannons, New York, if they keep this trajectory, that final spot's coming down to Maryland and Philly, and Maryland right now has the leg up on Philly.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you know, the Outlaws go and score 4 points, and then Atlas activate him and then release him, and about 15 minutes later, Eric Law is back with the Denver Outlaws for the first time since
They had the graphics
2018.
ready to go.
I love the move, and I saw Joe Keegan say this. Eric Law's not going to let Brendan O'Neill have 8 touches only in a game ever again. And I think this is just what the doctor ordered. You know, we all were talking about it in the group chat, and DJ and I have talked about it on the pod. Like, the Outlaws have kind of needed like that veteran presence almost because they are so young, and like we've talked about offensively, their veteran is 5-year pro Justin Anderson. Everyone else is so young that we've been like, get Will Mann into the Outlaws, get Will Mann into the Outlaws, and now you get Mr. Outlaw himself, Eric Law, to come home to Denver and be a part of this team, and you know, be right off into the sunset of his career at home. I think this is just a perfect move, and to see Eric Law play with Brendan O'Neill is going to be an absolute treat. And that Eric Law throwback weekend jersey is going to go triple platinum in lacrosse hotbeds everywhere.
I'm here for it. I might get one.
That thing
I'm very interested to see what they do with the throwbacks this year with the Outlaws. If they how does it look? Do they do the traditional like what the PLL throwback has looked like, or they actually throw it back to the Denver Outlaws of the MLO?
Right. It's going to be fascinating to see those jerseys. I can't wait to see them in person.
If it's anything like Indigenous Heritage Weekend, they're going to be fire.
Absolutely. I need at some point the Outlaws to have that skeleton mascot logo on a patch on a jersey somewhere. Like, if they're not going to have a jersey patch sponsor this year, just slap that on the sleeves. Just bring it to life. The Archers get a much-needed win this past weekend against the Whips, 16-11. Shout out Chris Bates. He has a new job coaching a high school in Delaware. Archers needed this win after 2 very tough losses that they've sustained. Connor Fields is the most disgusting lacrosse player on the planet.
Yes.
The fact that our guy Zach Currier was able to conjure up an article detailing the 5 most ridiculous goals of Connor Fields' PLL career is crazy.
Well, he had a goal very similar to the one from this past weekend last year, and somehow this one was even better.
And he had 2 in this game. He had the one where he's getting clotheslined to the ground and scores, and then he goes between the legs again. Yeah, Zach wrote an article. We'll link it in the description. Ranking Connor Fields' top 5 most absurd PLL goals. If you're able to be on that level of having that be written about you, just shows how filthy of a player you are.
Well, just the fact that the 4-button combo is so simple for him. Like Josh Byrne is the only other player I can say for sure is able to just go between the legs on a consistent. But then he did it yesterday in a way we've never seen, or not yesterday, last weekend in a way we've never seen before. To like be completely one-handed and like know you have no other option, and high rise that low to high between the legs, insane, right over the shoulder, couldn't believe it. And the camera, the PLL media team is the best ones out there. The angles they get are ridiculous.
That's that megalodon, man.
They got about 10 different cameras.
They got so many different angles of this goal, but there was one that was like the perfect angle where you can see him release the shot and watch it rise right over the shoulder and like hit the net, and like you're just like it completely awestruck. Like I just didn't have words. I just showed a bunch of people in my office here who like don't even really know more about lacrosse than the fact that I have this podcast and I coach it. Like, and then they see something and they send it to me. They're like, I saw this, and it's literally just like old Paul Rabel highlights or something on TikTok. Like, they send me everything they see. So like they saw it and they're like, oh my God. Like the fact that he's doing something that is so awe-striking to not only lacrosse players, but like everyone. It's like very reminiscent of like dunking from the free throw line or like doing a 360 between the legs in a game. Like everybody knows how crazy it is to do that. That is where we need more guys like Connor Fields, like Chase Frazier, like Josh Byrne, like Ryder Garnsey that do these crazy things so that we can post them up. You know, Xander Dickson being on the All-Star or on Sports Center top 10 every other weekend is fantastic for the sport. Every time that kid touches the ball, something crazy happens. So like he's very quickly entering that category of guys I just mentioned and being those crazy, like it seems like those guys don't score regular goals. It seems like every goal they score is just insane. And he's very close or very quickly becoming a part of that conversation.
I mean, I want to pull it up so I'm accurate here. Yeah, I mean, if you told us even 5 years ago, when I was just getting into lacrosse and like kind of just figuring out this whole scene, that Connor Fields would have the number 1 play on Sports Center top 10, we all would have called you crazy. The number 1 play on Sports Center top 10 was the PLL.
Rightfully so.
Rightfully so, absolutely. But like, it's crazy to like have that like formulate in your head that like, holy shit, like, you know, people lost their minds when lacrosse was on TV as a game, let alone highlights being distributed on one of the most iconic platforms in sports media in the Sports Center top 10.
Mm-hmm. Well, I was going to say it's a shame that he's not in the Airgate competition in the All-Star game or the All-Star Skills Challenge.
But he doesn't like my envision of that is it's going to be a lot of like crease diving, which he doesn't really do. That's what I'm guessing it is, but maybe it's not.
I think it's just the way they described it. I think it's that, but I think it's also just so they avoid what has happened with the trick shot competition, like kind of putting them in a box and saying, all right, do your best with this format.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we still don't have the fastest player challenge, which I miss.
Yeah, I miss that so much. It was so simple but so fun. And it's a bummer.
I do like the derby that they added. That sounds like it's going to be fun.
Yeah.
But we can talk about that when we get to All-Stars.
So yeah, the Whips lose, Archers win, and then everything was lining up perfectly for the Waterdogs going into this final game. Cannons lost game 1 of their homecoming weekend. The Whips lost. The Waterdogs win. They would jump to 3rd place in the East based off of score differential. And then they go out and they blow it. They lose 14-10 to the Cannons and allow the Cannons to go on a 5-0 run in the 4th quarter, a 9-3 run in the second half. And there was a lot that irritated me with the press conference after. And it's not like I'm irritated with the person. I'm just irritated with the response. The fact that Bill Tierney said that they didn't think the goals that the Cannons scored at the end of the first half were anything like major, that was alarming to me. That's like, how is that not major? In a league like this where scoring can and has been so prolific, and you have yourself a 7-2 lead and you let them score 3 straight goals on you going into halftime. Hey, Coach Tierney, that's what we call a momentum shift. And you saw that throughout the entire second half. And what do the Cannons do coming out of halftime? Boom, they rip a 2-bomb. The one thing that the Waterdogs, one, can't defend and can't cash in on all season long. And you lost the entire plot of the game by just kind of like letting your foot off the gas pedal at the end of the first half. And then I don't know what it is. And I know you've tried to talk me off this ledge, Deej. I don't know what they have to do. Ethan Walker needs to get more involved somehow, some way.
I thought you were going somewhere else with that.
Ethan Walker has been, you want to talk about invisible? The invisible club this year in the PLL has been Ethan Walker and Nakai Montgomery. I'm sorry.
Chase, I'm so tired of going through this with him.
Up until this last game too, you could have thrown Matt Moore in that conversation as
Matt
well.
Moore welcomed himself to the season.
But I think it's different with Matt Moore. Like the Archers weren't struggling to like find goals. Like their mouth.
They just have so many people, and Grant Amon as a midi has been fantastic.
Yeah. And granted, the Waterdogs have just as many guys as they do, but everybody wasn't there. Everybody wasn't healthy. Guys were, kind of being asked to do different things, which shifted the team dynamic. So I think that is, I've tried to like put that in there. I've tried to, kind of.
But this week in particular, and Coach Tierney agreed with me that this week in particular, this was the case. How does Ethan Walker have one shot when he has 33 touches? He passed the ball. He got paid this week to go and have a week of cardio.
It's from the sounds of it, it is a
but Coach Tierney justified it for the season long aspect is that he's just in a shooting slump. I don't know what you got to do. I don't know if you got to sage your stick. I don't know if you got to switch up how you got it strung. Ethan Walker's got to figure something out because he's way too talented and way too like dynamic of a player to like not be showing up week in and week out. And I was talking to Wyatt Miller about this, and I said, even as a coaching staff, like I don't know if like you just change it up and you have Ethan just come out of the box again for a little bit and just like switch up just his headspace if he's in this shooting slump and just give him something else to focus on rather than this. And it's like you have a guy like Jake Carraway who has played attack in this league. The fact that Jake Carraway was not on the roster this week was also mind-boggling to me. But like let Ethan come out of the box and play Jake Carraway at attack with Kieran and Michael Sowers. Like you can do that. You can change things up. And I know Paul keeps bringing up whenever he goes on the broadcast about how like the Waterdogs defense looks like the 90s Princeton defense and everything. And as a Philadelphia sports fan, I can't help but want to throw up because it just reminds me of how old school Eagles fans are like, oh, Buddy Ryan's defense. It drives me nuts. It drives me absolutely insane. I get defense is very important. And the Waterdogs defense has been a huge reason why they've even been competitive in these games. But they have way too much offensive talent to not be scoring at a higher clip. And this might be a hot take, but I know he was more of a long-term investment. Matt Brandow can't be on the field. He looks so lost, and just the speed of the PLL, he's not caught up to it yet. And it's he just looks so out of place.
He's playing out of position.
That too.
Thank you. This is really it's not the speed in that. It's he just went he has the Redwood syndrome. I hate that that's what it's called in the PLL, but he has that, like, remember when I asked Nat about it when we were in Philadelphia? Everybody has this idea where they have to be the guy to take over the game. And like they have to be the one to make the move because they were all coming from a place where they were that guy. At Yale, it was the Brandow show where nothing was happening. Every single play went through Brandow. There wasn't an offensive possession while he was at Yale where he didn't touch the ball. So now he's in a place where he may only see the ball 3 times a game. And he's being forced to move off ball and kind of get his groove going without touching the ball. That's hard, especially for a guy who's coming from, and I would argue he was probably the number 1 guy in high school as well. You're playing 8-10 years where you're the number 1 guy and all of a sudden you're number 10. Like, it's hard to make that adjustment. And I think that is where things are difficult for him. And it's even more difficult because he's young and so are the Waterdogs. Like, his best bet at getting back down at attack is Kieran McArdle retiring, but he's also playing at a crazy level and has no reason to retire anytime soon. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot there for Brandow. I don't think it's quite that far yet to where he shouldn't be there, but it is a little bit more of a difficult transition for him based off of how drastic his roles are compared to what they used to be and to what they are now.
I think the Waterdogs should take a page out of Carolina's book, where they've been able to get some of their guys like Minikis, that traditionally is an ex-attackman, but he's been pretty effective out of the box because you're able to invert and do a couple different things with him. And that's Brandout. I mean, he scored 100+ points, and a lot of those were from behind the cage, started from behind the cage. And he's just playing out of position. Jake Carraway was someone that was able to be effective from the midfield, but they just have way too many good midfielders. Ryan Conrad has been all right this season. Connor Kelly hasn't been when it comes to these late game situations and you need a 2-bomb, there's no one else I'd rather have than Connor Kelly most of the time. And he just hasn't looked like that this season. Jack Hanna's looked pretty good, but he just came back in the lineup. We haven't seen Mikey Schlosser. I don't know if we will see Mikey Schlosser. Thomas McConvey, who they spent the first round pick last year, hasn't fully. He's still in kind of a Brandout situation where he's still finding his space. And Zach Currier was taking faceoffs for the first couple games. It's just, I think it's a problem of having too many weapons and not enough time in a game to get everybody their touches and get them comfortable.
And I don't know what it is that like they just can't defend the 2-bomb this year.
Yeah.
That's the bigger issue is the 2-bomb on both sides.
It drives me crazy.
Yeah, offensively and defensively.
Offensively, they can't cash in, and defensively, Dylan Ward can't see a 2-bomb coming if it was right in front of his face.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a concern.
Those are the bigger issues here.
Because like I'm not even worrying about the Matt Cav 2-bomb that sealed the game at the end. Because like I don't even know what the fuck happened there. Like it almost felt like DeLuca got credited with that score against, and I didn't even see him on the field, so I don't know what was going on there. But like that 2-bomb early in the third quarter like changed the whole dynamic of the game. And there was very few like bright spots as the game went on that you could like turn to. I'll say this: Stathakis looks great. Like
he held his own.
He has held his own 2 weeks in a row now,
which is exactly what they need. They need a guy that can give you 50%, 40% against.
And he went
these other guys.
2%. Got 8 ground balls for you. Like that's what you need from your face-off guy. And like we've talked about it, like, and we saw it in person. The first Cannons game in Philly, if they have Stathakis, they probably win.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
100%.
Who knows how the Whip Snakes game goes one way or the other, but if they have Stathakis in there, they have more than one win on the year. 100%. I did find it interesting, Connor Kelly's response to my question in the press conference. He kind of was like, you know, we really haven't been able to get in a groove because we've gone game by week, 2 games, league by week, playing again. It's been a lot of like stop and start. It'll be interesting. He did say that he's looking forward, and he said he knows a lot of the guys in the locker room are looking forward to like just playing straight through and knowing that every weekend from here on out they have games and it doesn't change your routine too much. So I am interested to see from the Waterdogs perspective, the Redwoods perspective, and the Outlaws, who have already had their bye weeks, seeing how just playing week over week, and in the Redwoods and Outlaws cases, still having their homecoming weekends too, where they'll have 2 games in a weekend, how they just play now that they'll be in a flow. Because, I mean, look at the Atlas, who have been in a flow.
Oh, yeah.
Haven't had their bye week yet.
You could definitely argue that is a huge reason why Atlas have looked like the best team. One, we've gotten the largest sample size. Like
they're the only team that hasn't changed a full-on routine from last season.
Yeah, and they'll only play 4 games in the second half of the season. So I don't know how much weight you put on it, but you could definitely see where the players are coming from.
It's like a continuity thing.
I mean, I understand that point, but like, I don't think that's the reason why.
Oh, it's not a
I don't think
one. No, yeah, I think like a contributing factor.
Yeah,
like
not like that, but like
I
They
think it also
started-
could be a mental thing of like,
Mm-hmm.
that's
I-
what they're thinking about.
I think it's just mentally that they just started that way. Like before this season even started. I think this started in like training camp. Because like the way they came out in those first 2 games of the year just like set the tone. Like it almost seemed like they were separating themselves from everyone else. Like this is
Pressler said it. They felt embarrassed that they won 2 games all year.
Yeah. And you can tell. Like they were like, this is the brand of lacrosse we're going to play this year, and we're going to force you to stop it. And if you don't, we're just going to run it up. And that's what it's been every week. And it just seems like a total shift in culture there rather than like them like getting this advantage to not play.
They've been winning games like this, and Trevor hasn't been having a Trevor season where he's 70, 75%. Like
And he hasn't had to.
He hasn't had to. Like Weirman had a great game against him, and the Outlaws still had 100 less touches and couldn't really get into a groove. So I think the bye weeks are part of it. I don't think it's the whole reason though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it'll be fascinating to see the 3 teams though that have had theirs already, how they play in the second half of the year. But yeah, we're at the All-Star break, and it's All-Star break season. And before we get into it, I want to talk to you guys about our awesome PLL app code and the PLL app. The way that the 3 of us use the PLL app, and I'm sure I speak for Hoots here too, is a game changer with up to the second notifications during a game. News coming across. That Eric Law news broke on the PLL app so quick. It is truly a game changer if you're a PLL fan. Download the PLL app, join the OTB fantasy group, get in the mix with the boys. CFO Margie's in the group now too. So get in there. Check out everything in the app. It's gamified, so you're going to earn experience points. The helmet hunt was an awesome time. I'm pissed that I missed the second badge by 1 thing. I went 11 out of 12 because I went 0 for 4 in my picks last week. Gotta love that. Gotta love that. Download the PLL app and go to the redeem code section and type in OTB pod and you get 500 XP on your account. That's code OTBPOD in the PLL app and you get 500 XP on your account. The All-Stars are here, and the All-Stars that were here that are no longer here are Michael Sowers, Josh Byrne, Ryan Tarafanko. They're out injured. But your starters for the East, Dox Aitken, Jeff Teat, Miles Jones, Trevor Baptiste, Xander Dickson now in, Connor Schellenberger, Matt Campbell, Tyler Carpenter, Matt Dunn, Tim Troutner, and Garrett Epple. And your reserves for the East, Marcus Holman, Ryan Drenner, Colin Kurse, Danny Logan, Matt Witcher, Asher Nolting, Ben Randall, Gavin Adler, Joe Nardella. Big OTB guy. Your Western Conference starters, Blaze Reardon, Connor Fields, TD Ireland, Jules Henningberg now in, Grant Ament, Tom Schreiber, Brendan O'Neill, Ryder Garnsey, Jake Pacino, Jared Newman, Jack Rowlett, and your reserves, JT Giles Harris, Rob Pinnell, Mac O'Keefe, Mike Sisselberger, Zach Geddes, Jared Connors, Trey LeClaire now in, Brett Dobson, and Piper Bond. Your coaches, Chris Bates, Tony Resch for the West, Bill Tierney, Dylan Sheridan for the East. Kieran McArdle is not a PLL All-Star. Again.
It's a problem of most of the top 10 guys in points are attackmen in the East.
And play for the Atlas.
Yeah, that too. I mean, just looking at the top 10, Jeff Teat, number 1, Asher Knowlton 2, Schellenberger 3, Dickson 4, Sowers 5, Kieran 6, Marcus 7, and then TJ Malone 8. You could argue he should be in there over Holman just based off of points, but it's tough.
my bigger thing is popularity.
Fan vote does have a huge part of this.
That's where I have an issue, and this isn't every. I feel like Deej and I do this every year.
We do this every year.
No, we do.
This is the problem with All-Star games, is that the voting has solely been put into the hands of the fans, and it allows guys, while they're having great seasons, there's other guys that don't get voted in based off of they're not, what Deej said, popular. They're like, we as a society need to reformat the way that all-star selections get dished out, because when you look at the major four sports and even at lacrosse, the way that all-star selections are looked at the end of your career is a huge part in the puzzle that gets put together, not only for money, but if you end up being in the Hall of Fame or not. And I'm not saying Kieran's not going to be a Hall of Famer. Obviously, he had 3 All-Star selections when he was in the MLL. But, like, the dude, since he's been on the Waterdogs, has been one of the most elite players in the league. In 2022, was one of 2 players with 40-plus points in a season, the other being Lyle Thompson. And the fact that he just doesn't, like, I know it's such a small thing, but, like, he is somebody that deserves that recognition. And sure, Deej and I probably speak for Chase too, we're huge Kieran McArdle fans, just as the person. He's been great to us and, you know, supports us and has supported us for a long time. And it's like that give and take from our perspective, where we want to see somebody who is in our corner all the time get the recognition and the flowers they deserve when they're deserved. And I'm sure Kieran is going to enjoy this week off because he is such a big family guy, and you know, spend time with his wife, spend time with his daughter, and he's going to enjoy that. And I know Dee just put in our group chat, like, he's going to come back on Demon Time and go on a run in the second half, which I can't wait for. But it sucks that somebody of his caliber and his talent just continues to, like, find himself. And then the only time it gets brought up in the mass populace of, oh, wow, he got snubbed, he's so talented, is when this happens.
Because he just doesn't have an exciting game, right? Like, that's what it comes down to, is like, he's not the writer, the Jeff T, and then he also doesn't do that, like, whole media thing either. Like, he's not broadcasted out in front, and like a bunch of people don't see him. So, like, there's that piece. That's really where it goes, is people don't see Kieran because of the kind of guy he is. He's modest, he's laid back, and he plays a more fundamental, simple game, and isn't this exciting player that creates all these crazy highlights. That's what people are looking to watch. It's an instant gratification, fast world. So, like, the quick highlights that people can see and scroll past, that's what they want. So those are going to be the guys they see, and what comes to mind first. And when you look at the Waterdogs, that guy's Michael Sowers. Like, every team has one, but for the Waterdogs, it's Sowers.
It's just crazy to me that I'm pretty sure this is true, that Sowers has never had more points in a season than Kieran ever since he entered the league. I'm pretty sure Kieran, someone would have to double check me on it. I'm pretty sure Kieran's been the leading scorer for the Waterdogs every single season.
I'll check right now.
Like, he is, in terms of points, at the bare minimum, has been the heart and soul of the Waterdogs offense ever since the Waterdogs became a franchise.
So in his Waterdogs career, Kieran McArdle 2020 bubble season, 14 points. 2021, he had 25 points. 2022, he took that leap and had the 42-point season. 2023, 34 points. And right now in 2024, in 5 games, he's got 21 points.
He led in 2023. He led in 2022. 2021, He led there too.
And that was Sauer's rookie year when he got hurt. So,
And then 2020, for some reason, isn't showing up on the website. But at the bare minimum, 4 out of
136 points in his Waterdogs career,
that's
coupled with 25 points when he was with the Atlas in 2019.
It's also the fact that the All-Star game, and we were talking about this as well, that at the moment it's the best way to have it, but in the middle of the season it gives it so guys that maybe have a slow first half but then end up having a really strong second half kind of get left in the dust, because at the end of the season they may be top 5 in scoring, but right now they're only top 20.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Kieran's got 161 points in his PLL career.
Wow, really?
And I mean,
There's
kicking it back to
not
the
a lot of
MLL,
guys.
they were playing more games then. But even like coupling it, like Kieran played in 10 games in 2017 for the Florida launch and had 4 more points than he did in 2022 in 10 games with the Waterdogs. And 2022 obviously ended in a championship for the first time in his career for him. But like that's just the type of player he is. Like he's not flashy, but he's gonna rack up points and he's gonna go out there and get his. I don't even know like what I was thinking about this. Like what player in a major 4 sport would you compare Kieran McArdle to?
I don't know. Well, here's the other thing, and this is like wild fact looking back on it. Kieran also won Rookie of the Year in the MLL the same year that Tom Schreiber got drafted. So he's always been like that.
Been that guy.
I don't know who I would compare him to.
Broke records in the Champ Series too, and obviously it's a different format of lacrosse.
And he gave away the award.
Because it's like he has a championship to his name. Was on Team USA as well.
Yes.
And won
It's like someone that has
the global
accolades. He's top 10 in points all time, but just has always been sort of under the radar.
He's like an anomaly. Like I can't think of another player.
And he's also got like a 10-plus year career, so he's been good his whole career.
I don't know though, because like I don't really think
like this guy doesn't have a championship in his sport, but is Kieran the Mike Trout of lacrosse?
But like I don't even think Mike Trout's quite on that level.
No, because Mike Trout's considered for a bit there. He was considered the best in the sport.
Yeah, like
before Otani.
Like
a lot of people did.
I don't think you can quite have this effect in other sports. Because like if you're producing in the other major sports, like you're automatically that guy. Like whether you're doing it in a basic way or not. Like Kawhi Leonard, for example, one of the most meek basketball players ever. But when he was tearing it up in San Antonio, people were saying he was the best player in the world and was better than LeBron. Like,
oh yeah, that Toronto year, there was people arguing that he was the best player in the world.
Yeah,
so and I think some of those people were probably right at that time.
Yeah, and it's just like you can't. There's no way to modestly play the other the other major sports to where you would fly under the radar.
I think it'd have to be football.
That's what I was thinking.
I was trying to even think in football, but like if you're putting up those kind of numbers,
you're gonna get
in. Especially because, like they offer so many guys at each position.
We're gonna have to think about this.
Let us know in the YouTube comment section, because it came into my mind because I saw a bunch of tweets on the timeline like explain this to me in blank terms of like different stuff happening, and I was like, how could I explain the Kieran situation to somebody in?
It was very easy to explain terms. When you tweeted about the Atlas should trade Entenmann because he's not playing, and I responded. And I was like, yeah, the Chiefs should have traded that Patrick Mahomes kid. He wasn't playing. Alex Smith was having a great season. That's exactly what that made me think of.
I can't believe we had somebody on Al Gore's internet saying that they should trade Liam Entenmann. That was insane stuff. But yeah, Xander gets in based off of the injury to Michael Sowers, which
Everybody was saying he was also a snub.
Xander
in the
was an initial
list.
snub for sure.
Mhm.
I also think one that's like kind of under the radar and plays into DJ's like formula of like the flash kind of thing. Luke Weirman should have been an all-star over Mike Sisselberger. I'm sorry.
I'd have to look. But Luke Weirman's been fantastic. The problem is you only get 2 spots, and
Right.
there's 8 face-off guys, and
TD was
arguably
getting
6
the
of
one.
them. Yeah, 6 of them deserve to.
But when you
be in
look
there.
at the stats this year, and a lot of that, plays into a factor for most of the time. Weirman's ahead of Sis in faceoff percentage. Beat him head to head.
Sis has won more face-offs overall, but Weirman has the better percentage. Yeah, that's tough.
Like, it was definitely a closer call, but Weirman's got more points. He scored more off the face, and then got in Arden Cohen's face, which was hilarious. Sorry, Deej. You can even admit
We didn't even talk about it was Xander.
Oh, Xander was
Xander
all
You're
time.
down by 12. I tweeted, I was like, talking trash down by 12 is just
crazy work.
Crazy.
I mean, it depends, right? I'm gonna say this. It depends because I grew up playing basketball, so my team can be losing by 30. But if you've been guarding me all game and I got 34, don't say nothing to me. I don't care how much we losing by. I've been baking you all day, and if you say something to me, I'm talking trash because you can't guard me. But like Jesse Bernhardt shouldn't have been talking.
Should not have been talking.
They were getting deuced on. Like
Bro.
it wasn't like he was out there and shutting Xander down and like he had room to talk. Like he had none. He had none. I'm an individual shit talker. So like if I'm doing individually well or like somebody is doing individually well, I feel like they have the room to shit talk.
Xander was baffled.
Oh yeah, because he'd been cooking them and he's like, bro, why are you talking? I'm cooking you like I'm in the kitchen with the pot. Straight stir. Like,
how many times do we have to teach you this lesson, old man?
Exactly.
Yeah, that was insane. But yeah, I felt like Luke Weirman deserved to be an all-star, and kind of earned it as well. But Sis gets the nod, and not that Sis doesn't deserve it, but like Sis hasn't been having like what we have come to know Mike Sisselberger to be type season. He's had a lot of ebbs and flows this year, and I felt like Weirman's kind of been like steady for what type of face-off athlete he is, and that's been solid. It's been good. He's a reason that they won at least one of their games. So I felt that was kind of unfortunate for Weirman there. Were there any other snubs? Obviously, TJ Malone is getting posted around, but again, I feel like more so than Kieran, TJ fell into he plays in the
just
Eastern
too
Conference.
Many good Eastern Conference attackmen. I would have said Trey LeClaire, but then he got brought in. He's also been phenomenal. I think at one point he led the league in shooting percentage. I'm not sure if he still does. But in terms of that whole, except for Brennan, and you can make the argument for Garnsey or Pinnell, that entire West offense, it could be Utah Archers. And I don't think you would see a lot of complaints. They haven't been as good, clearly, but they have the potential once they get Matt Moore going. I mean, you could even argue that Schreiber hasn't had. He's coming off an MVP season, but he's playing alongside Grant Ament, Connor Fields, Mac O'Keefe, who are also having phenomenal seasons. Like this Archers offense has the potential to be just as good as the Atlas offense on paper. I don't know if they'll reach that potential, but.
And it might be because he has no cost turnovers yet at the position he plays, but I do feel like Ian McKay got snubbed.
It's tough with Ian because I think he truly plays a position that nobody else is being asked to play. He does so many different things for Chaos that a lot of people kind of didn't really know where to put him.
If there was like a utility slot, Swiss Army machete, throw him right in there.
Can we get a machete position in the All-Star game next year?
But also,
need it.
like, I don't think Chaos has quite had the season people were expecting, and they're not
kind of like middle of the pack.
Well, after the hot start, they've lost 3 in a row, I think. Started 2-0, lost 3 in a row.
There's that, and then there's the like they don't seem as exciting. Like it really goes back to being exciting, especially when like the demographic of the PLL is a little more younger. Like, let's be honest here, this is a lot of the fans and stuff that we see tuned in, commenting and like going to games are in high school or younger. So if you're not exciting,
Michael Jordan meme.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It's funny, but at the end of the day, they like the exciting thing, and they're just not exciting at the moment. Like, Chaos, like without Dane Smith and Chase Ray, like includes, like they're just not the same exciting offense that they were, and I think that is factoring into it as well. And then Blaze he's Blaze, but he hasn't been
got injured.
You know, that injury I think stepped back, but like he also like has he been passing the ball out in the clear? Sure, but like it seems like he's dumping it off more. And like just the first open guy, boom, let's get it out and go. He's not looking for that home run assist as often. It just seems like Chaos is just trying to survive.
Well, I was going to say as well, defensively, they've looked really good. Newman and Rowlett are both in the All-Star game. I know JT needed a nod. He's looked fantastic as well. But Will Bowen's also had a fantastic season. You could have easily put him in the All-Star game. But so I think it's also a case of Blaze has had to do less this year just because of how good this defense has been. We talked about Ian McKay. Zach Guess is also in the All-Star game. They've just been really good defensively. That a lot. I think they have the least amount of goals allowed.
I think a lot of guys
feels like it
fell victim to the East-West format too.
Yes, like if it was last year's format, TJ Malone's in, Kieran's in.
The as far as Will Bowen, I think he falls under the same thing as Kieran, where it's just not as exciting.
Oh, 100%.
And he plays to the public a even less exciting position than Kieran plays.
Right, there's that, but also just like he doesn't do the crazy takeaway checks. He's not pushing the ball down the floor a ton. He's not
Jack Rowlett, Jared Newman.
Yeah, he's not doing the big hits. Like, and
he's not mic'd up.
Not even just that, just like he's not doing that himself. And then he's next to those two guys who are doing those things. It almost diminishes his value. But then when you really look at his game and how he plays beyond the highlights and the stat sheet, he's arguably the most important part of their defense right now, which in itself warrants an all-star. But people are going to see the clips, the stats, and they're going to go, you know, in the direction they went.
If you don't agree that Will Bowen belongs in the all-star game or deserves an all-star nod, next Chaos game, watch Will Bowen.
Yeah. Watch
like when they're on defense, watch Will Bowen, watch his matchup. He's fantastic. He's really good, but he is playing against two other really good defensemen and one of the best goalies, if not the best goalie in the world, in Blaze Reardon, injuries aside.
Yeah. And he's got a great matchup in Fairfield. He's playing against the Whip Snakes, so he's going to get
Probably TJ.
TJ.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because Jack talked about how he hates guarding Zed, and he typically does draw that Zed matchup.
But the thing is that if Zed's playing midfield, they probably will still put a pull on Zed, if I had to guess.
Oh, they're going to pull.
And Jared will get Matt Rambo because he loves
Jared's going to get Rambo. I think
I assume they put Shorty on Levi and then put Bowen on.
I think Zed plays down low. I think maybe he goes back to playing down low.
They've been switching him.
And I think he might stay there, especially in a game like this. And I think he pulls the Bowen matchup, and we see Jack get TJ.
Which I'm sure Jack would be salivating because.
Oh, dude, I'm salivating for Jack. I want to see those two go at it. I think it's the perfect kind of matchup where TJ is a little more relaxed, lets the game come to him, but has speed and finesse. Whereas Jack is just like, give me your best shot, and I'm just going to show you why. He's like a gladiator. He's like, I'm just the best here, and I'm going to show you why. And TJ's like, no, you're not. No.
TJ's like, haha, we are.
Yeah, like it reminds me almost of like the way Dana White and Joe Rogan put together fights in the UFC, to where like they put together people with the opposite fighting style to like force them to figure out how they're going to win. They're two opposites. So like you're going to see two people like going at each other, trying to figure out the best way to attack it. I'm here for that so much. Andy, AT, you heard it here first. That's all I'm going to say.
You know, he's working out right now, listening to this, and it's like, you know what, dude, you're fucking right. Let's fucking go. Pops in a high chew like it's a fucking Zin or something.
I'm not gonna say I'm right, but as soon as the Woods listen to me and move Chris Gray to attack and start running Westberg out of the box, they win.
We were yelling in the mic about that.
I'm just saying, the second they actually did it, good results happen. Maybe I know a thing or two about ball. Maybe. Big maybe.
Also, shout out Pat Cav. He accepted the award for what was it? I don't even know what it was. Men's athletics for Notre Dame. He accepted the award.
Oh,
the ESPYs.
Yeah.
For athletic excellence, the Capital One Cup.
Oh yeah, that's actually really cool.
Yeah,
that means they won like the most like
team of the year.
Well, no, that's school. Like that's just men's athletics in general, not team of the year. That's just men's across the whole school.
I think they were tracking it. Actually, I do remember that they were tracking like across all athletics.
That's how they do it every year.
Yeah,
and they do it for men's and women's. It's just like it's based off like how many games you're winning, how ranked you are, how many teams you have ranked across all your sports. Do you win national championships? Do you win conference championships? Like they're all weighted differently, and you get point. Like the best way I can put it is the Capital One Cup is the what's that thing they play for in Harry Potter? It's like that.
Oh, the house cup?
House Cup. It's literally like the House Cup in Harry Potter, where like points just go up for all these different achievements in the best school at the end of the year. One for men's, one for women's. Like it's awesome though. I'm here for it. Caitlin Clark also got an award, which I think we all expected.
Hooper.
She got like college women's athlete of the year or something like that.
Pat was up for men's college athlete too.
Yeah, but I knew he wasn't going to get it.
Speaking of women's athletics, I am so excited that they added the Unleashed players back. AU's getting started up here in a bit, so that'll be exciting to watch. That's at USA Lacrosse headquarters, so hopefully I can catch a couple games. But I think me and KB can say the same, that out of all the games at the Champ Series, there's arguably none more exciting than that Women's All-Star game. That was
the Women's
so
All-Star game and the championship. Those two were like the highlights of
I cannot wait to see the fastest shot competition, the accuracy challenge, the fact that they're in the Derby challenge. Like Charlotte North with a radar gun, sign me and the rest of America up. We need to see this.
I need to see Alex and Marcus going head to head in that.
That will also. Did you see she had the giant head, giant Marcus head?
Like we cannot be robbed of that. So the rest of you, PLL and Unleashed All-Stars, you've been given the task. Whatever you got to do to rig it up for Marcus and Alex to be in the final together, make it happen. That's what the people really want to see.
We touched on it last week, and I was dying. Our guy Phil Shore said this is Marcus and Alex's audition for The Amazing Race.
Imagine they do both actually win, and then it goes like triple overtime because they like just can't miss.
I'm just glad that they're redoing the whole trick shot thing too. That got so boring and stale so fast.
Yeah,
it got pretty weird when someone was getting shoved in the trash can last year.
We had an inflatable horse. Like,
oh my gosh, I forgot about that. Ryder with his Kentucky Derby fit. Oh my god.
Like it just got so stagnant so quick, and I'm glad that they like realized it and have shifted gears again. I mean, it's All-Star Week's gonna be awesome, and hopefully one day we get to go as a pod and be there for the festivities and everything. I'm intrigued. I think my biggest like thing is that it's in Louisville for a second straight year, and
It's
never
an
happened.
audition.
It's definitely an audition, just like Minnesota and Fairfield are. And I'm just intrigued to see what the crowd is like this year, because it was unbelievable last year. And Deej and I will tell you, like, we were for a market that is a non-traditional lacrosse market, we were pleasantly like flabbergasted by
Oh,
how
100%.
packed and like raucous the All-Star crowd was. And everyone we talk to is like, oh, I want to go to Louisville. I want to go to Louisville. It was awesome. We went last year. It was fantastic. Like, I'm really excited and intrigued to see how the year over year for the same location of an All-Star game goes, because that's typically not the case when it comes to an All-Star game either. It's a moving product, but it is funny that it's like an inverse this year with the PLL, where it's a traveling league and the All-Star game staying stationary. But I am excited to see how the crowd is this year for year 2 in Louisville.
I think the Rebel Bourbon partnership also might play a factor into that. They're pumping that. I saw the billboards.
Shout out to Mike Rabel posting those billboards.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, it's also nice for us where we can kind of just chill and relax. I don't know if they're going to have a press conference after the All-Star game. I don't think they did last year from what I remember, but we kind of just get to relax and enjoy a high scoring. It's also, speaking of the All-Star game, before I do this, get your merch from our awesome merch partners at PHI Apparel Company. Stand out in the crowd. Get your official OTB merch, phiapparel.co. And when you check out, use code underground for 10% off your next merch order. It's hoodies, shirts, phiapparel.co, code underground, 10% off your order. And stand out in the crowd. Going to a PLL game, we'll repost it if you get your merch. 10% off, code underground. It's bullshit that in the PLL app, the trivia for the highest scoring PLL game in history included the All-Star game. That was a trap, and they got so many people with that. I was so pissed when that was a thing. The All-Star game should not count towards your records as the highest scoring game in league history. I'm sorry. Because when you sent that text, Deej, about what was the score, and I was like, bro, they counted the fucking All-Star game.
Why are you so mad, dog?
That pissed me off. I missed out on XP because of it. That's why.
Is it not a game in PLL history?
It's an All-Star. It doesn't count in any other sport.
Hold on. Is it not a game in PLL history?
It is not a.
They didn't say highest scoring
postseason
regular
game.
season game
See,
in
bro,
PLL history.
That's how I know that he don't really be on the app enough for real.
You got to read in between the lines.
I'm talking the early days when they first started this last year and they had the trivia questions and stuff. All they did was throw out trick questions. So I knew better than that. I already knew. I was like, definitely All-Star game. Yes, no question.
Yeah, that's after you texted and said, "Yo, what's the answer to this question?"
Oh no, that was a few months ago. This week when they were like, "It's the highest scoring game." All-Star game. Yep.
Oh, I wasn't talking. I was talking about the one from a few weeks ago. I wasn't talking about this one. This one I knew that because of that one.
See, but I was also smart enough to ask because I wasn't dumb. You know, so I'm like, hold on, this gotta be.
I did my research and I was going through every Wikipedia page of every PLL season, looking at every score. And then I felt like Stephen A. Smith. I was led astray, run amok, and flat out deceived.
Bamboozled.
Speaking of Stephen A. Smith, have you guys seen the report about what his future contract at ESPN could be like? What are we doing wrong?
He's getting paid like a superstar.
He's getting a 2010 NBA max contract. He's getting Timothy Mozgov money from the Lakers.
Chill.
That they said that man is asking for $25 million a year.
Who?
Stephen A. They said his next contract at ESPN could be 5 years, $125 million.
How many people watch
Man.
First Take?
Man,
When you pull
apparently
in
a lot.
when you pull in views, you can talk.
well, when you got a Rolodex like Stephen A, you just pull whoever you want any given day of the week and have a rotating cast like he does.
I mean, technically, we could. We could definitely have a rotating stand-in guest once a week. Easy. We just be trying to not do all that.
The people are here for us.
So
one day we'll be getting that bag, but
I ain't say all that.
That blew my mind.
Dog, I am on a roll.
This is vintage OTB, that late night shit.
Nah, this ain't even a real late night, dog. Chase doesn't even know where we wouldn't start recording until 12:30.
Man,
Shoot.
he would be falling asleep and wouldn't hear a single thing I said. He'd be sitting on there video wise, just sleep paralysis demon.
Dog, and I would say the most,
and you'd be like,
all wild.
You'd be like, what'd you say, bro?
Like we'd be sitting here talking about the All-Star game, and I'll just like be like, yeah, last weekend's game was awesome. He's like, we're talking about the accuracy challenge right now. I'm like, oh yeah. Marcus is gonna win.
It was so funny. What a time. What a time. Should we talk more in depth about Eric Law? Because I feel like this is a bigger deal than what people have kind of made it out to be. They've obviously living off the nostalgia of Eric Law playing for the Outlaws back in the day, but from a team standpoint, I feel like this is what Chrome/Outlaws have been missing from like a presence type of player on their roster for a long, long time. And was it 2022 or 2021? I thought they were going to get that with Randy Stotts. And then obviously he got injured, was out for the year, then never played in the PLL. But this does feel like the aha moment that Pseudo is having. Like, okay, I need like an extension of the coaching staff on the field with these guys that are so young. Let's go get a guy who is universally beloved, not only in Denver, but in the PLL as a whole. And I think this can help push them in that Western Conference, push them to being where they want to be, which is back in the playoffs. And you're telling me Eric Law playing with all these young guys like Zawada, like Graham Bundy Jr., like Brennan O'Neill, like Logan Wisnauskas when he comes back from injury, like Cross Ferrara is not going to be fun as all hell. I can't wait for it. Like, I'm like chomping at the bit for Fairfield just to see Eric Law not only back in an Outlaws uniform, but just like playing in this system with these guys and playing alongside Brennan O'Neill.
I made the meme where it was like, thank you for changing my life. And I'm just post All-Star break Eric Law.
And then you're like, this aged poorly. And then you're like, we're so back.
We're so back.
Hashtag back in the comment section.
But yeah, I mean, I think every young team ever, no matter how good they are, has always needed a veteran presence of some sort to really take a leap. And I think Eric Law is perfect for that. Like we said earlier, Will Manny was on our minds, but Eric Law, in terms of the connection to the area and the team, it just works perfectly. And I think he's going to mesh very well. When Wisnauskas comes back from injury, I think you're still going to have a lot of question marks on how things fit in terms of him, Brennan, Zawada now. But when you can get a guy like Eric Law who has that history and can help out this team now in terms of winning games, when the West is really just wide open right now, even more than the East, I think it's a move you have to make. And I'm glad they added Eric Law to the roster.
I'm going on a historic run of PLL teams using my tweets on their graphics, by the way. Waterdogs did it again today, which shout out to them. I love when they do it. But I'm on the Eric Law Denver Outlaws graphic from a little less than an hour ago. Because you can't spell Outlaws without law.
There you go. I finally got my first. I was on a Redwoods post, and I didn't even realize it until like 3 days later. And I was like, "Hey, let's go!"
So good. And we've had the pod and Pipeline on ESPN broadcast.
This is very true.
Well, I got y'all beat because I was in a vlog. So,
and what did that vlog lead to you?
Right here, baby.
Back to me.
Okay, hold on. You ain't looking for me. So
I was just trying to invoke the Thanos quote.
In other news,
all that failure, where did it lead you? Back to me.
I'm terrified that Zawada is going to end up on the bench.
That's one of the question marks.
So I think right now, not a big deal because Logan's hurt. He goes to the wing. You put Law at X, Cross comes out of the box.
And you bump Graham Bundy back down to the midfield.
I mean, he wasn't really playing down there a lot. He just did like for that one game or whatever, while they were trying to figure out if they wanted to have Cross there or, you know, that whole thing. I don't think that was a long-term move in general. But I do wonder, will Zawada be effective out of the box? Because I would imagine Logan gets his spot back at attack. I can't see you taking Brennan out of the box now, truly. Like, I think he has to be on the field. And then obviously you don't go get Eric Law and re-sign him and not play him.
Do you think there's any scenario where they run Wisnauskas out of the box and keep Zawada on the field?
Only way I see that is if this lineup they're about to put out is just cooking.
The only problem I see with this lineup right now, and this was a problem at the beginning of the year, is they just lack pure midfielders. Like, you're only talking Justin Anderson, Graham Bundy, Sam Hanley. That's 3, and the rest are
talking about this guy named Sam Hanley.
Yeah, we talked about Stephen A. We didn't even talk about that quote. You talking about those guys, Sam Hanley? Hey. But it's just a lot of converted attackmen. Then Jack Myers is going to come back. Cross is running out of the box. I think they just have to find a version that works for them. We also haven't seen any, apart from the Levi Anderson, some in-season trades. Maybe that's in the cards.
And I mean, Jack Myers could also be somebody that gets affected by this.
Yeah, I forgot they had Jack Myers.
He's on
I think he's someone that could run out of the box more so than Zawada could.
Yeah, but I don't know who out of that crew you take out of the box. Because, like, realistically, none of those guys are box guys. When you think between
that's the issue I brought up.
Logan, Brennan, Josh, like, none of those guys are really come out of the box guys.
And I mean, since Logan's been out and since Jack Myers has been out, Dylan Gengar Gergar has been playing as well.
That's true.
Yep.
So that could be another guy that gets affected too.
Or maybe somebody else gets affected because he's been playing well. He had
he had both their points.
I'd say before the 4-minute mark in the fourth quarter, he was the only reason they were on the board.
Gengar was cooking, bro.
He was the only reason they were on the board. He was close to being the only person to score for the team that had the least amount of goals in PLL history. There's no way you can't take.
Also, we haven't talked about one of our big high profile followings from this past weekend. The fact that NFL Fashion Advice followed us and also was aligned on the tweet I put about seeing Gergar's name and only seeing Gengar and said we're aligned on this. That was an all-time win in my book in social media. Just wins. Was that NFL Fashion Advice saw the vision and Dylan Gergar is just Gengar.
Yeah, it's sick. I'm such a big fan of how NFL Fashion has been pushing the PLL.
We got to get them on the pod.
Whether it's a few clips or if it's an entire, helmet and jersey matchup and what they like about it. And I think that's huge because it's getting it in front of fans that wouldn't normally have any clue what's going on with the PLL.
If them big content guys been posting hilariously. Yeah, we got to get them on the pod. Plus, we've also, speaking of Eric Law, followed the pod. Shout out Elaw, come on the pod. Tyler Warner followed the pod after he liked one of our posts. What was the post that he liked?
Was it the Nardella?
Yeah. He liked the Nards post and then followed us. I should say, shout out to Dr. Tyler Warner.
Shout out to me. I gave you
Oh my
I
god!
gave you arguably the best clip in OTV history, dog. What you talking about? What you talking about, dog?
Plus, shout out to Nards. He put that clip on his Instagram story.
That might be the best clip literally OTV's ever had.
Well, I think our best overall clip is when we predicted Chrome would win the Champ Series when they had the worst odds to do it, and you were just subtly like, Chrome.
Yeah, I was like, Chrome's about to win. I can't. I still to this day can't tell you where that feeling came from.
Me either.
I don't know. Something just was like, you got to say Chrome. That they're the ones, and then they went out and balled out, and everybody's like, "Oh, is Chrome back?" And no,
nope, they gone.
That's why I said we got to stop using the term "back" like that, because stuff like that, all of a sudden somebody's back and then they're not. Just wait, give them a chance to actually be back before you say they're back.
That's why we put a differentiator up.
No, we're not starting this again. We're not.
Shout out Chris Berman.
I'm a Joe Nardella guy, and let's move on.
Joe Nardella is a big OTV guy as well, because he commented, "My guys." One of 4 guests that called in from the Utah bubble right before he was winning a championship. What a dude. What a dude. Also big Eagles fan, so go Birds, Joe.
Also, one of the first guys
already.
One of the first guys, first players that DM'd me saying like, "You're doing a good job." So shout out Nardella.
Yeah, don't forget all you Eagles fans are on the clock already.
Don't wear your green. Remember that. Can't wear green.
Not there.
That is still the silliest thing.
It's so ridiculous.
Insane.
And the fact that the field renderings
before.
The field renderings have the black end zone paint is so funny to me.
It is hilarious.
Ridiculous. Let's predictions for the All-Star game. Is it going to be East or West? I feel like everyone's picking the East because of the Atlas guys.
I know. I want to be a contrarian and say the West.
I know.
But
I want to pull a fan and be like, "Oh, contrarian pick." I think the over-under's 45.5 from what I see.
I think Ryder Garnes is going to have a crazy one-handed goal. That's it. That's my only prediction.
That's what we call Saturday.
No,
that's an average Saturday for him.
That's another week in the office for Ryder.
Clock in, one-hand goal, clock out.
Who has the most points?
Last year was Will Manny.
Yeah. This day, as we record this on Thursday, on this day 1 year ago, Will Manny scored 7.
Is there an All-Star MVP curse starting? We'll see.
Oof. Who were so is Troutner?
What was it? Troutner?
Say, look,
Holman wasn't Holman a MVP?
Yes.
So Holman avoided the curse.
Yeah, it's not looking great outside of good old Mark.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Well,
maybe there is one.
It kind of was flipping for Timmy, and then Liam Entenmann said, back to the lab again.
Is Marcus saved because of Brian? Is that really what happened?
Maybe.
Brian Holman doesn't become the coach of the Cannons. Is Marcus Holman still playing lacrosse?
Yes.
Yes.
I think he probably just stays. He probably would have just stayed.
That's a late night thought.
You got to throw some stuff out there, get this stuff going. I'm just trying to get.
But if you would say a year ago that Will Manny wouldn't be on a team right now,
We
You
Yeah,
probably
huh?
be looking silly.
I'm just trying to get clipped. I'm just trying to get somebody to clip me and be like, "Look at this fool." He said that.
That's getting clipped as a soundbite. That's getting exponential use on the timeline.
Hey, I'm just doing my duty. as
And
a
you
top
know who it's getting responded to with.
All I'm saying is I'm just doing my duty as the top 10 funniest people, you know.
This man said duty. Oh man.
See, I can't. I didn't even try that time.
Should we talk about this NLL trade to wrap things up?
This is all you guys.
Deej?
Oh wait, so I got to give you the treatment I'd be giving him for college.
Yeah.
You just don't watch.
Hey, listen, they put
What are you doing?
they put an NLL team in the Maryland area. I'm all in.
That don't mean you can't watch.
I don't got a team to support.
I'm a Roughnecks fan.
We
They
did a
ain't no
whole
Maryland.
we did a whole year-long bit of DJ finding his favorite team, and week by week went on like survivor mode and voted teams off the island.
All right. Hey,
You
keep me
got
around next season. When it
Yes.
starts up, I'll do the same thing.
He
I'll
acts like
narrow-
we're gonna let him go somewhere.
I know.
That's cute.
Keep me around, this dude.
Hey, I'll narrow it down. We'll have a nice. I'll create a board. We'll knock it down. It's like the Dance Moms pyramid.
Oh dang, he
Keep it going.
The funniest part
Raise the
was
bar.
the team that you were going to pick, that I thought you were going to pick, was eliminated off rip simply because of their mascot.
Yeah. He thought I was gonna pick the Georgia Swarm, bro. Have you seen Stinger? There's no way you've seen Stinger. But
That they have like a guy in a suit.
oh, bro,
It's
All
a guy in
right.
a suit. All right, I'll pull it up.
It has to be live. We need to see his reaction.
I'm pulling it up right now.
Oh, I just saw. That's not what I thought it would be.
So bad.
That's when you said guy in a suit. That's a suit. That's a guy's suit. I don't,
Hey,
Dog.
look up the Rock.
Yeah,
Look
look
at
up
the
the
Rock.
Toronto Rock mascot too.
Just as bad.
all right. Well, I think I'm eliminating. Here's my first elimination. Because I can't. Oh, what was that?
Yeah, bro.
Okay, that's slightly better, but that's we were talking about Doug Dimmadome.
Dude,
Dog,
that's like
I
That's
gotta
like
put
being
this
black.
on the screen for the people because this is just terrifying.
The
Oh,
Georgia one's worse than the
the
Toronto
Georgia
one.
one is so
The Georgia one is nightmare fuel.
Because okay, I can see how the Toronto one. It's like, all right, does it have a bald spot?
It wouldn't shock me.
Hey, the Stinger just looks like an off-brand Naruto character. Like it's just so bad.
I think that's giving
Dude.
it too much credit.
This is terrifying.
Look at that.
Why are his legs like that? Get your feet off the table.
Ew, what is that?
Yeah.
Brother, ew.
Yeah. Well, then there's somewhere like the hair's back. I don't know. That's I didn't know they had
Dude.
mascots.
Why are his legs like that? He's
Why didn't
so
they just
white.
go with like a
He's
hornet
so
or
white.
something?
Why
We
is
don't
he?
know.
He's so white. He's see through.
That's the one thing we asked ourselves is why isn't it just like
And his
a
name
hornet
is
or a bee?
Stinger.
Yeah, like
I don't.
Oh
get
my
it.
gosh. I didn't even know they did mascots. Now
The Wings have an elite mascot.
I'm
the
seeing a
Rush have
picture
an
of the
elite
Wings.
mascot.
The mammoth one looks cool.
The Mammoth one's good.
mhm,
The
man,
cool part about the Wings, his head spins 360 degrees.
The bandits one's cool. The warriors is all right.
Oh yeah, the Warriors new one is cool. He's
Yeah,
so
it's
clutch.
new.
The seals is all right.
Seals is good. Salty's good.
Mhm.
Sometimes Salty just looks like he's just like frozen though, because his head doesn't move, and he's just like
Well, this is taking me a completely different direction.
R.I.P. Eddie from the New York Riptide.
I know. I was just
That's
I-
the biggest travesty of the Riptide
about
being
that.
gone, is that Eddie is no longer the Riptide mascot.
I mean, are his socials still up? Because Eddie,
None of the Riptide stuff is still up.
I was gonna say because Eddie can just exist.
Oh, that thing's. I'm looking at the Riptide one. That's interesting.
well,
He's so cool.
he's no longer alive,
Yeah.
and neither is his team.
Rest in peace.
They've been shipped to Ottawa, and he was not a part of the package. So
Bummer.
yeah, but
but-
this guy doesn't watch college, so that's why I gave you.
Oh, got it.
And I rip him about it all the time. He's like, "Oh, I didn't know this dude was like." I was like, "Cause you don't watch college."
I watch when it matters.
He was just doing that for 4 years, bro. You can't just watch the national championship game and think you know what's going on.
I watched the final. I watched the tournament. I had St. Joe's versus Duke
watched
on my
the
TV this year.
You watched the what?
The tournament.
The tournament?
The tournament.
You hear the tournament? Like, oh.
The
All right,
tour.
look,
The tour.
I hate. That's another side thing. I hate when people say
like
tour or
The tour. Trying to pronounce the U like they're like some elitist.
we're just going on tangents now.
What's the Tour de France?
the Tour de France. Get the fuck out of my face.
Oh yeah, we can talk about
This
this.
trade, though, Deej, I'll let you take the floor to start because it is your squad involved. But effectively, Zach Currier traded for Curtis Dickson and a whole bunch of draft picks.
Am I allowed to jump teams, or does that make me a bandwagon? And I only say that because
He a fan. He a fan.
all my
Mhm.
I'm just saying, all my favorite NLL players are just going from the Roughnecks to the San Diego Seals. So
Welcome to my life.
is it really like bandwagoning? If
It's how I felt when Trevor got traded, and I'm just in the middle of Homewood Field, and I look at my phone, and I'm like, "What the fuck?"
but you're like locked into that place locationally. I kind of
That's
have
true.
the freedom to,
I was also there when
Dude.
Trevor got drafted.
and it just seems like they're just let's pick up the Roughnecks and throw them over here in San Diego, and like
But they have a Roughnecks quota because they had to give Curtis Dickson back.
obviously they do. They can only have so many of them. Let's chop the line right here. Hold on. But realistically, I'm really excited to see Curtis Dickson and Jesse King work together. Again, they're fantastic together. And Curtis did, like, Chase was saying prehand, how it's Curtis Dickson, that guy. Oh, Curtis Dickson is that guy. Like, he is a team-changing guy. He can come in and completely change your season around. He can change your culture. He makes it happen in the box game. I think you were probably comparing it's like what you've seen from him in the field game, which is like a completely different player. He's like, I'm trying to think of how to compare it because I'm trying to think of a guy that's just like a beat. He's kind of like Charlie Bertrand.
You talking about Curtis or
Yeah, like where like his box game surpasses his field game, or maybe even like Chase Frazier. Like Chase is, insane in box. Like, is he good on the field?
Curtis is a top 10 player in the NLL.
Oh, no question about it. He's insane. So I'm excited to see them get back together. Obviously sad to see Zach Currier leave. The scariest part about all this is he might be the most complete player in the box game, and he's now not only not on my favorite team, but he now is on one of our rival teams that is in the same conference.
And scooping up loose balls when Trevor Baptiste wins a faceoff, which Diggs has one of the funniest tweets I've seen.
Yes, because he literally he's just back there somewhere. Just somewhere, and he's gonna pick it up because that's what he does. Currier picks up loosies like nobody else's business, and now he's paired with the best faceoff guy in the league. You mean to tell me San Diego isn't gonna start running it up on guys? It's not fair whatsoever. But
I sent Diggs' tweet in the group chat because it is.
I think the picks are going to be. I think the picks will be pretty even. I don't think the Steel should be getting 2 picks out of this.
I need to see your reaction because it involves your favorite basketball team as well, and it's a meme that I just put in the files.
Hey, though, but shout out the Pistons though. Paul Reed, Tobias.
Shout out Paul Reed, sure.
Simone Fontecchio, like they're over there putting it together. They over there putting it together, and I'm here for it.
You're saying the Pistons are putting it together?
They're putting something together.
Yeah,
They're putting something together.
They're putting a nice little squad together, bro. Malik Beasley's over there. They
I'll give you Paul Reed.
Paul Reed, Malik
B-ball
Beasley.
Paul.
B-ball
Hey,
Paul. His
hey,
name
hey.
is basketball.
Cade signed a rookie match rookie extension.
Listen, I'm a Wizards fan, so
Oh, shut up. Shut up. You talk about they putting something together. Yeah.
well,
we already beat y'all. We already better than y'all.
Oh,
Hey,
dude,
but-
I know we're trying to be bad.
I love Isaiah Livers though. That's my guy. But yeah, the rest of that team can.
That's how you're feeling about the Roughnecks right now.
Yeah, that's
you got on board with them, and their coach left. Zach Currier's gone.
All I'm saying is they better get to doing what the Pistons did. Pistons made me real mad firing Troy Weaver and being some bums, and then they went and hired JB Bickerstaff, and they're starting to put this team together. So Roughnecks, take some notes. You did.
I don't know if they got to fire their coach though.
I didn't say all that. I'm just saying.
You just said the Pistons fired their coach and started putting it together. That's exactly what you said.
All I'm saying is they need to put the right pieces together. They've done a great job going to get Curtis Dickson. Make a few more moves. I'm solid with it.
I'm honestly shocked that Curtis Dickson would agree to go back. It felt like he kind of closed that chapter.
I don't think he really felt like he fit in there. Like in San Diego. I felt like he kind of felt like he was outside in, or kind of getting that treatment we're seeing in the PLL where he's used to being a very, very big focal point in the offense. And there's just too many mouths to feed there for him to be that large of a piece. I think he just wants more, more cut of the pie.
It also kind of signals to me that, it might be getting close to retirement time for Curtis Dickson. He just wanted to hang it up in a Roughnecks uniform.
That may be it, but
and it's also how many times over the last couple years now are the Seals just going to load up the chamber with all of these all-stars and not get over the hump? We've seen this 3 years in a row now.
Yeah, and you got Tanner Cook, you got Jesse, Shane, Logan Schuss came over, Josh Currier.
You have one of the best goalies in the league, and that's what matters. If you have a goalie in the NLL, you're in good shape no matter what, because
he's cousins with Hayden, right? Or is there no relation there?
I don't think there is.
Nonetheless, he's back with Hayden. He has Tyler Pace. He's got Hogarth.
But in the NLL, you have to build from the back end up even more so than the PLL, where if you don't have a goalie in the NLL, you're basically fucked.
Oh, well, we got arguably the best goalie.
That's what I said. You have
worry about that piece.
You have a top 3 Canadian national team goalie on your team. So that helps.
Christian Del Bianco's that man. Shout out to it.
But my thing is sure, San Diego goes and gets Zach Currier, but how many times are they going to go out and make these big splashes? And I love the Seals. Seals are one of our favorite teams. Shout out to the Seals. But it's just how many different iterations are they going to go in and build these super teams and it just crash and burn in the playoffs? Will it work now? It remains to be seen. That's why they play the games. But it does feel like the definition of insanity is kicking in with the Seals, and they're just trying to push every avenue and every chip into the middle of the table that they can to get the right formula. And if you're a team, no matter what sport, you want to see that aggression from your front office to be we're going to go get the best players to give us the best possible chance to win. So if you're a Seals fan, you should be over the moon stoked that you have a top 10 player coming in exchange for a top 10 player. And if I'm not mistaken, the Seals got more draft picks in return.
Yeah, they got 2. And
so
one, and then they gave up 1.
With that in mind too, and to put it in perspective for Chase, NLL draft picks are almost like baseball draft picks, where you're not going to see the return on investment right away from most of them. Dyson Williams was the number 1 overall pick last year's draft and won't play his first game until this coming season. So it's you kind of have to wait for them to come in. But San Diego's getting the 14th pick in the draft, a 2024 second round pick. or I'm sorry, 14th overall in this year's draft, second round pick in 2026, and then they gave away a 4th. That's a win and a half for San Diego just from the draft pick perspective. And then you're also adding Zach Currier into that mix. Like, if you're a San Diego Seals fan, you're excited, but you're also hoping that like this finally gets you over the hump. And, you know, free agency is still going to happen. There's going to be some other moving parts, but like you have to hope that this is the year. Otherwise, it's just like, what the fuck else do we do?
Just continue to be patient. It's year what, 4 they're about to go into? Every team? 4 or 5 or whatever.
Technically
6.
year 6, but the 2019-2020 season was cut short, and then
Right.
2021 didn't happen.
So I guess
they came in the league the same year as the Wings.
Right. You're coming in basically year 5.
Yeah.
You've made the playoffs almost every year. You're getting to the.
They haven't made the playoffs every year.
I said almost.
No, every year they have.
Oh, okay. I thought you said they haven't.
No,
like,
they made it every year.
Yeah, so and you've made it to a couple conference semis, like right outside, or not conference semis, the conference championships. Made it right outside the NLL finals. You're right there. Keep making moves. Keep being patient. Understand really how good you have it 6 years in. When you look at other expansion teams across other sports outside of probably the Vegas Golden Knights, they're not having this level of success early in their career as a team. So I think Seals fans should just be calm with it and relax and like really take a look at the big picture and see how successful they are as a franchise and know that if they're not getting it right now, those championships are soon to come because the foundation being built now is fantastic. You know anything about houses and buildings, if there's not a solid foundation, it's going to fall eventually. So I think that is more so what they should be focused on is how well of a foundation their team is getting and their organization is getting from top down, from Cy and Govett and everybody down through the Marrows into the team. This is what you want your organization to look like at the NLL. And if you're not winning a championship just yet, even though you have this star power, just be patient and know it's coming in the foreseeable future.
I also don't know why I was like today years old this week when I found out that Jordan Hall was one of Patrick Merrill's assistant coaches because they signed him to an extension. And I was like, I knew Halsey retired, but I was like, since when was he on the coaching staff? I was like, this man is all over the place. Plus Brody Merrill signed a 3-year contract to be like head of player development, I think, with the Seals. So he's back with the team, and who knows, maybe, you know, halfway through the season, he puts the jersey back on again like he did this year, and he's a player / front office member. And they also re-signed Mike. It's insane, too, that Mike Poulin's like 41 years old, came out of retirement to go to the Seals from that trade, and he's still playing again. He basically just said, fuck the Georgia Swarm.
He did. And I mean, a lot of people have been saying that.
Yeah. The people that don't have that follow back from them on social media, even though they've been around since 2018, 2019. But I digress. Last bit here, DJ, I'll let you kind of take the floor because you've been reading up and following it along as Toronto Beach's saga. But before we do, make sure you guys check out our friends over at Tomahawk Shades, the best small batch eyewear in the game. Sunglasses, blue light glasses, prescription lenses. They've got you covered with the best eyewear for a fraction of the big eyewear companies that they're price gouging you like crazy. Deej wears them when he's coaching. I'm wearing the blue light glasses all the time when I'm editing. Sunglasses when we're on the road. They are truly the best. It's the best quality sunglasses I've ever worn. And you can do the same. Go to tomahawkshades.com or download the Tomahawk Shades app. And when you fill your cart up to the gills, use code USP for 25% off your next order from Tomahawk Shades at tomahawkshades.com or in the Tomahawk Shades app. That's 25% off your next order with code USP at tomahawkshades.com or in Tomahawk Shades app. This Toronto Beaches saga, it's so much to keep up with that, like, every day it's something new, and I'm just like, I lose track of everything. We talked about this a couple weeks ago where it was like a shit show, and this is why people can't take summer box lacrosse seriously, and it's just continuing to get that way, and it's even more unfortunate that guys who really have nothing to do with all of this are the ones catching a punishment.
Yeah. So from what I've read, they are standing on their decision that they made in couple weeks ago in terms of these boys are no longer allowed to play lacrosse in the OJLL. They're not allowed to play in Ontario. The Ontario Junior Lacrosse League is not for them, and it won't be anytime soon. I think that's crazy. It's not their fault. They were asked and offered a contract to come play. Who's going to turn that down? Who's going to say no? They're just trying to play the sport they love. Should they maybe have read up and like known the rules? Maybe. Sure. But at the end of the day, that's not their job. Their job is to sign the dotted line and play lacrosse, which is what they did. It's the front office and the administration's job to know all the rules and make sure that they're complying and everyone in their organization is, eligible under set guidelines. And instead, there's no suspensions to those guys. There's no fines to the front office. There's no whatever you want to do to the front office and the admin. It's all at the kids who were playing, who simply just want to play the sport they love. It doesn't make sense to me. All their wins were vacated from earlier in the season. Their scores were simply just made 0. None of the stats count. None of the goals count. And
you and I were both like, that's fine. Like,
yeah,
kind of a
that's
semantics principle. Like, here's your slap on the wrist.
Yep. So the team, their opponents got to keep whatever their respective score was for the game. And I don't know, it's like 16-14 game will become 14-0 an L for the Beaches. They ended up finishing 9-11 or something like that on the season. Just missed out on the playoffs because the Six Nations won their game last night. It's just, in my opinion, I don't even know if I forfeit the games. Because I understand, they had this advantage, guys weren't supposed to play and such, but it's not their fault. It's not like it is in college and stuff where, this kid's ineligible. Like the Derrick Rose thing, where, they knew that Derrick Rose didn't take his ACT. That's between the player, the coach, the admin, everybody in that situation is wrong and knows. These kids simply just signed the dotted line and played. They had no clue they weren't supposed to play. So it's now the other guys on this team that are still there and did put in that work in those games don't get to go to the playoffs. They don't get to have their stats that they rightfully earned because the admin fucked up. I don't like that piece of this, is that admin is basically getting off scotch-free and they get to fuck up again if they want to, because this didn't affect their team outside of missing the playoffs by a game. That's more
for 1 year.
That's more of the lens they're looking through. Man, we missed the playoffs this year by 1 game, even after everything that happened. We're fine. Yeah, no, that's awful. 3 guys can't play lacrosse in the OJLL anymore. So now they either have to find out a way to get into the NLL or find a way to end up in the PLL, or they got to move to a different territory in Canada so they can play. That's insane. But, oh, man, we just missed the playoffs. It's fine. No, this is why lacrosse is a laughingstock across the country, because we can't get anything right. The basic things like contracts and knowing who should play in what league and who shouldn't. This is why there shouldn't be 1,000 different Canadian box leagues anyway. What are we doing? You don't need a different juniors league for each territory or province, whatever the fuck they're called up there. You could just do like we do here in America. We got one juniors league for the whole country. You get in or you don't. And I don't even think we have a junior box league. I'm just talking hockey because that's what I do now. If you play hockey juniors, you play against people across the whole country, and either you're good enough to be on a juniors team or you're not. So do the same thing for lacrosse in Canada. Have one big juniors league where there's maybe 2 or 3 teams in each region or each province. And then boom, you got the Canadian Junior Lacrosse League, CJLL. Boom, there you go. And it's probably a lot easier to manage that as well, rather than managing guys playing in all these different leagues. And then the OJLL, there's 2 or 3 leagues under the OJLL in Ontario that guys are allowed to play in and then be moved up. Like, it's so complex, which is really creating all of this mishap.
And genuinely, like, as a casual fan from the perspective of like Summer Box, of just like paying attention to like highlights or whatever of guys, like, that's a huge detractor for American fans, in my opinion. You make it so complex and so convoluted to follow along with that it's like when stuff like this happens, it's like, oh, this happened. Who's to say it hasn't happened before, won't happen again? Because you're punishing the players for this happening and not the team and the people running the team. What is going to bring in a casual American fan to watch your product? Nothing. Like, that pulls me away, and it's like, I don't have any interest in following along with this now.
Yeah, it makes it so much harder because, like, we don't deal with those things here. It's pretty cut and simple, like, dry for guidelines in sports. Have you played this many years in college or been this many years out of high school? Okay. Sign up for the draft. Sign up for the combine. Good luck.
And that's the other thing, too, with, like, the NLL. Like, they make the draft guidelines so difficult to follow along with that it's hard for us to even, like, keep track of, like, this, that, and like guys get drafted and it's like, oh, they weren't eligible to get drafted, so that draft pick's gone. Like, that's annoying as a sports fan. And if you're a fan of that team and saying, oh, we drafted this great player, like when the Riptide drafted Chris Gray, like, it was like, oh, sick, Chris Gray's gonna play with Jeff T and like all this, and like, sure, he never ended up playing box, but it's like the idea of it. And then it was like, oh, this draft pick that they used on Chris Gray was not an eligible pick, so Chris Gray's in the like free agency pool now. It's like, you're a professional league. Why is this still the case? And it just drives me nuts.
Yeah, that I just was upset that the guys are getting punished when it's not their fault whatsoever.
That's all we got for you guys on this one. Make sure you guys are following us on the socials at OTB LaxPod, at the PLL Pipeline. Follow Deej on Twitter at SCS_NextGreat. Follow me at KBIZZL311. Chase, what's your personal Twitter? Is it Chase_Strasser?
Chase_Strasser.
Boom. So follow us on the tweet machine. Enjoy the All-Star game. Subscribe to the pod, Apple, Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating and review. Subscribe to the Underground Sports Philadelphia YouTube channel and the Outside the Box podcast YouTube channel. Get your merch from PHI Apparel Company. Use code Underground for 10% off your order. And this has been episode number 331, a jam-packed episode of the award-nominated, honorably mentioned number 9 NCAA ranked, and of course viewable on YouTube, Outside the Box podcast, presented by Shootout For Soldiers. Best of luck to them as they are heading into the midnight hours of their Long Island weekend. I just saw they tweeted that they just made a McDonald's run, so that's hilarious.
Did you see they were on the news, though?
Yes.
That's sick.
Love it. Shout out to them. Check them out at the link in the description. And this has been another episode of the Outside the Box podcast, the official lacrosse pod on the Underground Sports Philadelphia Podcast Network. For Chase, for Deej, I'm KB. Let's have ourselves an all-star weekend, and we will see you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.